I'm Joey.
I'm Jason.
And this is Metal
Monster
Review. Today we're going to discuss an album from 1971. And it's about time we got into some early roots here with metal. Kind of almost like the foundation of metal. We're going to discuss Black Sabbath's Master of Reality. Now, last year this album hit its 50th anniversary. What can you say about Black Sabbath? Let's talk about this for a minute. Being as avid fans of heavy metal music, the bands that you listen to today were all influenced by Sabbath in some way, shape, or form. And it gets into an interesting discussion. Well, were they the first metal band? Because there was an old saying that Sabbath made it heavy, but Priest made it metal. Either way, you're throwing these guys into the ring. Me, I say that it all stemmed from Black Sabbath. Because,
I
hey,
agree.
You take a look at this. Some bands, Metallica, highly influenced by Black Sabbath. Slayer, influenced by Sabbath. Lamb of God, influenced by Sabbath. And so many other bands. And when you hear these early Sabbath records, you can hear the foreground and the foreshadowing for some early doom metal. And it is really killer stuff here. There was no other band that sounded like them coming out in the early 70s like that. You know what I mean?
You're bringing out this older time period, like the 70s. Personally, when I think of Sabbath, I'm like you. I start thinking back in the time. It's like there's people all into the disco.
Yeah, disco was popular in the 70s.
And you got it's like totally different. It mind boggles me sometimes thinking about it. You got Sabbath out there, and then you got the fucking Bee Gees.
Yeah, at the same time period too. You know what I mean? I often see this as like the end of the flower power era. You know what I mean? When those kind of movements and things were kind of like starting to go by the wayside now, and then here comes something new. And one thing that I love about Sabbath is that this is metal and monster reviews. We love to discuss heavy metal and horror movies and monster movies, but take a look at the name of the band. It was based off of a Boris Karloff movie. And when I hear some of their music, I wondered, like the song off the Paranoid album, Electric Funeral. I wondered if that was kind of influenced somewhat by, H.P. Lovecraft's The Color Out of Space, about this radiation falling and mutating somebody. I just kind of wondered if there was any significant ties to it, just when you hear that. But we're getting off topic here, so let's talk about the album a little bit. I think this is a great record, and last year it hit its 50th anniversary, and I think it still holds up today. Jason, you want to talk a little bit about Master Reality?
Even though it's not a very long album, I think almost it has so many catchy songs on here, all the riffs to them.
Absolutely. And Tony Iommi is my favorite guitarist of all time. And I love how you mentioned the riffs on here. I love the guitar riffs that he does. My favorite Sabbath song and my favorite track off this album is Into the Void. And that was the closing song, and I love that slow doomy sound that it had. And another one that has almost like a doomy sound to it, Lord of This World, which is a killer song as well. What are some of your favorite tracks off this?
I really love the song Silverleaf.
Sweet Leaf.
Oh yeah, Sweet Leaf.
Sweet Leaf.
I fucked up.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
You're hitting that silver bullet.
Yeah, I know. Way too much silver bullets going through me. And Children of the Grave.
Oh, that's a heavy song. And that's what I love about Sabbath, is because when you hear some of their stuff, you hear it is really heavy. And to me, they are the biggest name metal band out there, with the exception with Metallica. But I think Sabbath might be the bigger marquee value name as well. But, I mean, with Sabbath, you had a lot of great stuff with them, and especially with this Master of Reality hit its 50th anniversary. There's a lot of good stuff on here, and I love Tony Iommi's guitar work. And he laid a lot of foreground, for a lot of guitarists, to follow in years to come. It just when you hear this, it sounds like nothing else that you've heard, and especially coming in with the early Sabbath, his first 5 Sabbath albums. You know what I mean? You had some really heavy stuff, and later, you had Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, which was a really heavy album. Yeah, and you just get so much great stuff that came with him here. So you had this band at the end of this hippie era. They were originally called Earth, and they decided their first track that they wrote together was a song called Black Sabbath. And they're like, well, hey, let's write scary music. And it all kind of comes, full circle here, and it just ties in together. You realize this comes from an old Mario Bava, Boris Karloff film. And I always thought that was pretty cool because that ties into things that we truly love here. Heavy metal music and horror movies.
I think Ozzy does a good job on this album singing too.
Yes. And with the early Sabbath, you do notice, you can always tell Ozzy's voice.
That's one. I know Sabbath had the different singers, but to me, Ozzy's Sabbath. He just has that. His voice is that creepy voice, and this fits in with this band so good.
Would you consider it the definitive Black Sabbath?
I would.
I would agree with that. Look, Ronnie James Dio had a hell of a vocal range.
Yeah, is Ozzy the best singer in the world? Fuck no.
No.
But just for the mood of the music they play and the way his voice is. It just fits it perfectly.
And I'm glad that you brought that up because to me it's like this definitive sound. It's Ozzy. And he has that signature style with his vocal range. And you just affiliate it with him. Killer songs off this album, as you mentioned, Sweet Leaf and Children of the Grave. Hey, I love that as well. Lord of this World. After Forever is a really good song on here too. And that's just got a lot of heavy guitar riffs there, some really catchy lyrics. This is a great album. And it's about time that we get into some Black Sabbath because this is where a lot of this all started from. So it was about time. It's long overdue. And I think we should get into more Sabbath because they had some great albums, but they didn't all sound the same. This one was their follow-up album to Paranoid. And to me, it almost has more like a doomy vibe to it.
It does.
For sure. And it's a great follow-up. As me, it's my favorite Sabbath record. This is one I would highly recommend.
Yeah, once I gave this record a full listen to a couple more times, it actually became, I was always a fan of Paranoid, but then after I listened to this a couple more times, I was like, I don't know, I think this one beat it.
And here's the thing with the Paranoid album, you would think in almost some way, shape, or form it's almost like their best of. Because so many fan favorites and classics came off that record. War Pigs, Planet Caravan, Iron Man, Electric Funeral.
Don't get me wrong, that album had good songs on it. Like Electric Funeral, that's probably my favorite song off that album.
Yeah, and that's a killer guitar riff, and I love that style that Tony Iommi was doing.
But for only his album's 34 minutes?
Yeah, about 35 minutes.
35.
So it doesn't take long to get through if you got a little over a half hour time. But like I said, it opens up. I would think you get that hacking cough with Sweet Leaf, and we all get the gist of what they're talking about. And you get After Forever, and you get the prelude into Children of the Grave, which is just a heavy song. And I've had an opportunity to see Black Sabbath, with Ozzy a few times, and I always loved it when they played that song because the crowd was pumped up and they were really into it. So, being that these songs are now hitting their 50-year mark, and we're sitting here talking about them now, I think that just shows that these albums are timeless, and they're just absolute classics. Do you have anything else you'd like to add about Black Sabbath's Master of Reality?
Just do yourself a favor and listen to it.
Absolutely. Give it a listen. If you like what you heard today, feel free to subscribe to Metal and Monster Reviews. I'm Joey.
I'm Jason.
And this is Metal
Monster Review.